Welcome to the Yappin podcast. I'm your host, Rafa. Let's start yapping. So it is Saturday, day 3 of the NFL draft. The huge story, SHEDEUR, obviously. We'll get to that. But first, I want to talk about NBA playoffs last night. It's Orlando. They lost by 2. They were up 10 at halftime. Uh, Brown was questionable to the game. He ended up playing. Drew Holiday didn't play. But what got to me in this game was the closing 30 seconds to this game. To me, Joe Mazzulla did a terrible job coaching here. Celtics down 4. They get a bucket with 28 seconds left. Now, if you watch this game, you see the Magic struggle to hit free throws in that fourth quarter. They ended up shooting about 73% from the line for Orlando, I believe. But they were struggling, and Wagner missed. He was like 7 to 12 from the line. They had missed some free throws in that fourth quarter. And so you get a bucket with 28 seconds left. Orlando has the ball. It's a 24-second shot clock. All right. So basic math, if these guys put it up with 23 seconds left, right? If you understand, if you've watched the fucking NBA or you've played ever basketball with a shot clock, when they put up a shot with 23 seconds left, if there's a rebound, it's going to be about a second and a half, 2 seconds, maybe even 3 seconds that are going to tick off the clock for a rebound. Why would you now foul a team that has struggled to shoot free throws in the fourth quarter? Not only in this game, in the series, to close the season out, they've been shooting terrible from the line in the fourth quarter. And Joe Mazzulla did not foul. Sure enough, shot goes up with about 4 seconds, 5 seconds on the game clock. Batted ball, this, that. Celtics end up with the ball with 0.3 seconds left. You don't even have time to get a shot off. And to me, you extend the game there. Joe Mazzulla, I know you won a championship last year. Guess who else won a championship? Frank Vogel, motherfucker doesn't have a job. Doc Rivers, and we see what he's done. Okay? He won a title. He hasn't done shit since. And he's had good teams. Clippers, Philly, now the Bucks. Bucks still got a chance. But Ty Lue won a title, hadn't done shit. Got a chance this year. Clippers team looks good. But Joe Mazzulla, you're going to end up being one of those dudes. Because you, last night, to me, showed that you're kind of, even though you won a title, you have a hell of a roster, kind of a little bit of an overrated head coach. In the playoffs, to take a commanding 3-0 lead, to get your team some rest, because you had Tatum miss game 2. You had Brown questionable last night. Luckily, he ended up playing. And you had Drew Holiday miss last night. You had Porzingis take a fucking shot off the dome the other night. You can use the days of rest, especially because you're going to face the Pistons or the Knicks, who seem to have a good series going there. So I think they missed an opportunity last night. The Celtics did. I think it was bad coaching, and which is what we've alluded to all year long with the NBA, that the coaching has been kind of bad. So to me, my opinion, Celtics, Joe Mazzulla, you fucking blew it last night. Awful. You should have fouled them. All right, they get both, but there's 28 seconds left. If they get both and they weren't shooting well from the line, under 75% last night for the Magic. We've seen what they were doing in that fourth quarter. Your team got back in the game after being down 11. They got back in the game, and you could have extended that game to give them a chance to win it. Instead, you had 0.3 seconds to drop a play. You couldn't even get one up. Obviously, 0.3 seconds is tough. So, Joe Mazzulla, terrible job last night. I think he let the Celtics down. I think that more importantly, they let the Magic off the hook. A young team who they were up 11 with a handful of minutes left, gave that lead right back. They gave that lead right back. You start fouling them there with 28 seconds to go. Even if they get 2, you go down, get a quick 2, you foul again. Maybe you get a wide open 3, whatever. Extend the game. Instead, you didn't extend the game. You didn't extend the game. In my opinion, you cost your team that game yesterday. Joe Mazzulla and the Celtics should be up 3-0 with a chance to close out tomorrow. If not, it's in that case, but it's not. It's fucking 2-1 now with a banged up Celtics team now having to play at least an extra 2 games or at least an extra game. So, but anyways, let's get back to the news of the weekend, of the week. I've had people sending me messages who, don't really watch sports the way we do. And they've all texted me like, what's going on with Sanders, with Sanders' son? And, this is perfect for all the race baiters. This is like, Hall of Fame weekend for race baiters. We'll wait
100%.
to give her take, I'm sure, at some point this weekend. Whatever the fuck. You already had Louis Riddick on ESPN. Stephen A. already. I mean, the King Race Baiter weekend is it right here. It's your prime right here. This
Ryan
is
Clark.
Oh, Ryan Clark. Are you kidding? This is Race Baiter prime. We'll get a whole spiel on Ryan Clark if the Steelers don't draft SHEDEUR, and even if they do draft him. From Ryan Clark, that his franchise that he played for, and he's so hurt, and yada, yada, yada. I'm sure we'll see it. Race Baiter weekend in full effect. They are licking their chops, and all we're going to see this weekend on Instagram, especially if you follow sports pages. This weekend, Monday, you'll get everybody. I mean, we're going to get them all. We're going to get from the Stephen A's to the Jamel Hill to the Louis Riddick, Ryan Clark, all those race baiting dudes, and Jamel Hill. She's kind of a dude. So
Rafa, there was even a politician. I believe
yeah,
a former. Yes.
Yeah. And guys, I'm giving you my take on it, and you take it for what it is. People tend to forget that the NFL, the shield, the logo, they call it the shield. That shit is bigger than everyone. Okay. At the end of the day, when those players come and they're gone, guess what's still going? The number one
Right.
sport in the United States of America. It doesn't matter who you are. They just keep rolling along. And Tom Brady leaves and they get Patrick Mahomes. And Peyton Manning left and Tom Brady was still there. And that's how it goes. Joe Montana leaves and you get the next.
So
that's how it goes.
I hate to cut you off, Rafa, but the Steelers pick is in. So I'm going to share what we got here and see what they pick.
Is it the moment? It's still quarterback situation. Ownership saying yesterday that they're optimistic about Aaron Rodgers. Is that where they will go? Will they go with a quarterback here, or will they go in a different direction? The Steelers selection about to be announced here in Green Bay.
Well, we got the Steelers pick coming up live, and here we go. And I hope it's the kid, to be honest with you. I feel bad for him at this point.
23rd pick in the 2025 NFL Draft, the Pittsburgh Steelers select Jack Sawyer, linebacker, Ohio State.
So the Steelers do not go with SHEDEUR.
The 10th Buckeye to be selected.
So now we
made one of the most memorable plays in Ohio State history.
We're at another team that supposedly needs a quarterback. And listen, the thing for me with the Steelers is the Steelers have a win now mentality. When you have a coach like Mike Tomlin, they're always win now. And there's very few teams in the NFL that are basically win now. And I know everybody's going to say, oh, everyone has a chance and blah, blah, blah. Well, since Patrick Mahomes rolled in, it's kind of like, that's basically the Chiefs are always there. When Tom Brady was around, the Patriots were always there. Whether it was in the Super Bowl, it was the AFC title game, they were always there. Now it's in the AFC, it's Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, and the Bengals. Everyone thought, they had, but they haven't. They kind of fell off a little bit. The Ravens are always there. There's very few teams in the NFL, whether you guys want to believe it or not, that are always win now franchises. To me, it's the Pittsburgh Steelers always. Since the history of time, it always feels like they're a win now organization. And I'm not talking about win a Super Bowl. Be a winning franchise, make playoffs, be superior. Don't be a bottom feeder in the league. Right? That's what I feel with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So in their looking at just the Steelers, right? They have in their sights Aaron Rodgers, who they feel could come in and give them a chance and win now, right? Maybe win 10 or 11 games. They won 10 games last year with Russell Wilson. They closed bad. We saw how that went. So for the Steelers, SHEDEUR, it makes sense, but not as a starter at this point, right? And in the fourth round, picking a quarterback in the fourth round, we know he's not coming in as a starter, basically, right?
Right.
But when we look at the teams, and this is the thing that we're kind of forgetting here. when we looked at the teams that really needed a quarterback, and we can look at them, right? And you know, the Titans, obviously, they had their guy Cam Ward at number 1. That's who they thought was better than SHEDEUR. So they took him number 1. So we'll take the Titans out of this, right? The Giants went out and got Russell Wilson. So they have Russell Wilson, and they signed Jameis Winston. So they have their backup, they have their starter, right? Now, so of course, at their 3 pick, they took Abdul Carter, which I think is the best player in the draft, but whatever, 100%. I'm an idiot. So they took him, right? They traded back into the first round to get a quarterback who they think is better than SHEDEUR Sanders. And when you watch Jackson Dart play for the last 2 years, if you don't think that he's better than SHEDEUR Sanders in a better conference against better talent, okay, then that's fine. But the Giants' opinion was that he's better. Fine. The Browns, they didn't draft a quarterback until the 3rd round. And when they look at their roster, the Browns went and got Joe Flacco. They still have the Deshaun Watson issue. We know Deshaun's probably not playing this year, but they brought back Joe Flacco, who led them to a playoffs a couple of years ago. They drafted a lot of defense. That's how they got to the playoffs a couple of years ago. They had the number 1 defense at home. Terrible defense on the road. Number 1 defense at home with Joe Flacco, got them to the playoffs. They bring Joe Flacco back. They didn't take SHEDEUR in the first round because they traded out. They got a player that they needed, that they wanted. Why would they waste a 2nd round? They're improving their defense with a quarterback that they know has already proven to lead them to a playoff already with a stellar defense. So the Browns passing on SHEDEUR, they get Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round. Why would you bringing in SHEDEUR compared to Dylan Gabriel in the 3rd round? It's like, it seems like nobody wants that drama, is what it seems like. That's the thing that goes with it. Because can you imagine now drafting SHEDEUR in the 5th round or in the 4th or the 5th and just bringing him in? It's like there's going to be so much drama tied to this. And when you start, and now we're seeing all the videos now come out on Instagram that we had probably people hadn't seen before, or at least now they're being shown again, and they're resurfacing on pages that if you follow sports, you're kind of now seeing a little more because it's the talk of the weekend, right? And it's stuff like, you know, after a game against Colorado State, like an opponent who shouldn't even be close to your level, yet your first year at Colorado, they took you all the way to fucking overtime, a game you should have lost. And then last year you kicked their ass, but you're talking shit to their quarterback after the game, after he came and shook hands, wanted to shake hands with you. You kind of just shrugged him off, and you were talking shit during the week, basically, is what he was saying, right?
Right.
And that's part of it. You know, boxers and UFC fighters talk shit throughout the entire week and weeks and months leading up to the event.
They fight each other, though.
And they fight. Well, listen, they fight each other, but at the end of the fight, there's a mutual respect for each other.
100%.
There's a handshake. There's a hug. We got no handshake, no hug here. We didn't even get a handshake from SHEDEUR against Colorado State. You're starting to see guys, make sure you enroll. Oh, no, after the last practice, I'm out of here. After the last game, I'm out of here. Your shit, you thought, and people are like, oh, no, it's because, nobody, the NFL's not ready for a black man with this and that. Listen, like I already told you, there's just plenty of those guys in the NFL.
And one was named Deion Sanders.
And there's plenty of those guys in the NFL. There's not just one. There's plenty of them. And all of these guys that are coming into the NFL now, especially from the last year or 2 years and on, and for the rest of history, the amount of money that they're making in NIL, they're already rich black men joining the league. 100%. So your take about SHEDEUR being this, rich black man with power and blah, blah, blah is bullshit. It's bullshit. Did you see the kid who got taken by the Bengals? His dad had a big old Thanos chain and shit.
I did not. I didn't even see that.
Oh, yeah. No, I think he had a green suit on, purple. Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
You saw that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
listen, it doesn't get blacker than that dude. Like, seriously. It don't get blacker than him. And they still took him in the first round. Because the kid seems to not be a fucking problem.
Exactly.
And SHEDEUR seems to be a fucking problem. The Rolex is bullshit and this and that. Bro, you seem to be an issue. I'm sorry, but it is. It's not about race. It's about you. There's been plenty of black men selected in this draft. In the first round, in the second,
There's
in the
been
third.
majority black men selected in this draft. An
There's always
overwhelming
majority of black men selected. It's always a fucking thing. Now, when people go and they say, well, the Saints took this quarterback and look at the throws he made or whatever. Because, but this is simple. That kid coming into the Saints is not a problem because there's not a hovering parent. The expectation of that kid starting is not there. That's the other thing. That if you draft SHEDEUR Sanders, whether it's in the first or the second round, there's an expectation that he's going to come into your franchise and expected to start, right? And Dion kind of, he made that known a little bit. He also made it known that there were certain teams that his son was not, his son wasn't going to go to.
Well, Rafa, I would like to give you another perspective, and it's this meme right here, which I will share with the people, and it is the perfect example of how that black narrative goes right out the way. No flashy jewelry, no flashy suit, no flashy girlfriend hogging the attention, just a regular suit, thin chain, alma mater pin, and his parents by his side. Yeah, he's playing 20 years of Pro Bowl football. That is the example right there that people are talking about.
Well, listen, I don't mind the flashiness, okay? I don't mind the chain.
But you get the metaphor, you get the message.
Of course I get the message. Of course I get the message. But I'm not black. So you're black. You're black, CJ, so you can say that. But you want me to come out and say that SHEDEUR look ghetto as fuck and fucking this man does not? That's the message. That's the fucking message. That's the problem. That's the problem. Why doesn't Stephen A go on fucking ESPN with all chained out and shit? Because he's not ghetto. That's what it is. But that's not why SHEDEUR's not drafted. SHEDEUR hasn't been drafted because of the drama. That's what the problem is. It's the drama that comes behind it. And he's drama. And obviously he didn't interview well. And I watched the Saban telecast with the College Game Day crew and yesterday, and he was talking about it. I said it all year long, this year and last year. Okay, when you watch SHEDEUR, he took too many sacks. His offensive line sucked, yes. But when you watched him play the game, there were too many plays that were broken plays that he made, that the plays were made on or weren't made on, right? And so when we look at it, and he took too many sacks, running out of bounds 9 yards behind the line of scrimmage. You took a 9-yard sack because you ran out of bounds. You were at the sideline to run out of bounds. Throw the goddamn ball away. But you know what? That you guys don't see because all you see is a black man with chains and his dad is the same. And you think that it's a racial thing. It's not a racial thing. He wasn't as good as maybe advertised. Did Mel Kiper maybe fall into that? I know he had 4,000 yards last year. I know he had 37 touchdown passes. I know he had 10 interceptions. I know all of that. I also know that Stetson Bennett at 5'11" won 2 fucking national championships.
Hello.
And he don't play quarterback. I know all of that. I know all of that. I know that Chase Daniels finished in Heisman voting, and that motherfucker was a career backup. We know all of that.
I also want to cut the narrative. I've heard this a lot, that SHEDEUR took Colorado to unprecedented levels. What unprecedented levels did SHEDEUR take Colorado to that wasn't a national championship? Colorado's won a national championship. What other unprecedented levels are there?
And dude, and Colorado, and all these people on Instagram, the majority of them, young kids or 30-somethings or even late 20-somethings, they forgot how good Colorado used to be.
Right.
You forgot how good Colorado used to be? Like, hello? Hello? They were just awful in the Pac-12.
Right.
They were just awful. They just fell off. Like, they vanished. Before Nick Saban got there, what happened where was Alabama?
Right.
They weren't. They fell off for a minute.
Right.
They fell off for a good minute. After Tim Tebow, after Urban Meyer left Florida, what happened?
Mm-hmm.
They fell off the map for a minute. They fell off the fucking map. That's how it works. That's how it works. schools fall off the map. Their history doesn't get erased. Their history is not forgotten. You may not know it, but it's not forgotten.
Right.
So,
So there's another question that we had before the show, and that's the question of Tom Brady and his involvement in this. What do you think Tom Brady's actual involvement is with SHEDEUR? Because it doesn't seem like he had any.
I don't. How much did he really have? I don't think much. I think he maybe threw with him one summer, maybe on a fucking weekend, maybe. But when you have, if you're calling Tom Brady your mentor,
Right.
Tom Brady being a 10% owner in the Raiders or whatever his stake is in the Raiders, being, you know, arguably one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest football player of all time.
Right.
7 Super Bowls, all of this, you know, TV deals. I mean, the list is endless for Tom Brady, right? If that is your mentor, how does your mentor not prepare you leading up to the draft, through the season, things you should be doing, things you shouldn't be doing? Was he even his mentor? And now I'm starting to question it. And I told you that. I started to question that. Because if he's your mentor, if I'm the Browns and Tom Brady's your mentor, and I know Tom Brady owns 10% of the Raiders, okay? So maybe you don't make that call. But maybe through different avenues and windows, you kind of find out through Tom Brady indirectly. Hey, how's this kid?
Right.
How is this kid? Is he really the way he is on social media? Is he really the way people are painting him out to be? And if I'm his mentor and I'm Tom Brady, because when you're a mentor to somebody, you have a special relationship with them, you care for them, etc. Right?
Right.
If I'm Tom Brady, if I really mentored this kid and I feel like, hey, he's a good kid, he's this, he's that, maybe I make a phone call or have a friend make a phone call to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I know Brady owns 10% of the Raiders. So, you know, it's, you know, why would he do that if he's part owner of the Raiders or whatever? Well, the Raiders realistically need a backup quarterback.
Yeah.
Do the Raiders take him? If the mentor is really his mentor and the kid is really that good of a person, which it seems right now that's what's kind of holding him back. I'm just saying, Tom Brady, step in for your guy. If you're mentoring this kid, step in for him, Tom Brady. Hey, Raiders, we need to take him. And the Raiders had 2 picks to close that third. The Raiders had 2 picks to close that third round that second day. Could have saved the kid embarrassment. If you're mentoring somebody, you don't want them to get embarrassed. I feel bad for the kid.
100%.
I feel bad for the kid, and I have zero relationship.
Right. That was my point, was the fact that even if it's not really a talking point that anybody's bringing up, but if you're a mentor to somebody and they're getting this bad press, this is a shot on your look too, because you're the mentor. Like you're developing this kid, turn him out to be an asshole. Like, you know, so that's why I'm thinking, like, Tom Brady, there's no way.
Yeah, like how much of that do we really believe? At this point, I don't believe any of it. I believe you maybe threw with him on a weekend. You maybe
100%.
sat him down for a conversation, but I don't think you're ever interacting with this guy. I don't think you're exchanging messages throughout the season and stuff like that, because this wouldn't have happened if you really had a real relationship with Tom Brady.
Right.
A man who's respected all over the league. I know he's the owner of the Raiders.
A world.
Yeah, he's respected all, and I know he's the owner of the Raiders, but still, the Raiders need a backup quarterback. The Raiders have had plenty of picks in this draft, plenty of opportunities to take you. They just took another receiver in the 4th round. A receiver they probably could have got later in this round, and they still didn't take you. They took back-to-back picks in the 3rd round, and they didn't take you. So were you really being mentored by Tom Brady, or is that something that you were putting out there to bring your status up maybe a little bit? Could that be it for SHEDEUR? Did he use Tom Brady as a little bit of clout? You know, the Giants cleats he wore. I don't know where he was at, and he wore Giants cleats.
Yeah.
You know, what was that about? That just everything about it came off wrong. The arrogance. And like I told you, these billionaires, they don't give a fuck about your skin color. They don't.
Hell no.
Because like 90% of their players are black. They're black. I don't know if you guys watch on Sundays and Mondays and on Thursdays. These motherfuckers is black. So it's not about black excellence. It's not about hating black excellence. It's about that you might be an actual piece of shit, SHEDEUR Sanders. And I don't know, but that's what it kind of is building to.
Right.
Okay? Because your dad, people love Dion. People love Dion. And, you know, but he came out and made those statements. He came out and said that. And, you know, oh, he's only got to, you know, there's teams he can't go to. Okay. Like, and
right.
then people bring up the Archie Manning thing with Eli. Like, oh, well, he's not going to go to the Chargers. All right. He's not going to go to the Chargers. The Chargers gave up the world for him. But I believe in that draft, you had 3 quarterbacks taken in the first round. Ben Roethlisberger, Phillip Rivers, and Eli Manning. All of them, all 3 of them, arguably will be in the Hall of Fame. All 3 of them at one point or another. We know Big Ben gets in first ballot.
Yep.
Phillip Rivers should be in second or third. Eli should be in third or fourth. Eli Manning won 2 Super Bowls.
Right.
So also Arch Manning, Archie involved in the NFL. Involved in the NFL. Like actually involved in different things with the league.
Yeah, and it's not like he has some weird relationship. Like, no, his dad and his uncle are, you know, or his brothers. I'm sorry, his brothers. I'm sorry, are you know, some of the best quarterbacks of all time have accomplished a lot. So he has a direct bloodline relationship connection, not some mystical, probably isn't relationship with one of the best of all time.
Yeah, so it's not the same thing. It's not the same thing because Eli was obviously a first-round pick. He was obviously a player. There were multiple teams that wanted Eli Manning, the Giants and the Chargers. There were 2. There's not one fucking team that wants SHEDEUR Sanders, obviously.
Right.
How bad was his interview? There's so many questions. Race is not one of them. So please, black people and sports media, stop. Because you look fucking stupid.
Black people and Skip Bayless.
Oh, Skip's trying to get back into the black community. That's why. Skip's trying to get back into the black community. And dude, I hate that shit. By the way, dude, there's so many some of these people that just kiss black people's ass. Like, bro, you know that's a lie.
You're going to have to bring up some examples because you can't just say that.
Bro. Go ahead. What happened?
Who are these examples? Who are these people?
I'll send you videos, man. I gotta find them, but I see them, and it's like, nah. Joy Taylor being one of them. You know what I'm saying? It's like, nah.
Joy Taylor is black.
She's a quarter. Good quarter. Her dad's a quarter black. That means it makes her 15 cents.
So it's like in Dr. Umar's, she's an octoroon.
Yeah, 100%.
She's an octoroon.
100%. 100,000%.
Right. Well,
since you brought up Skip, let's bash on Skip a little bit. Let's bash on Skip a little bit because Skip and CJ, see if you can post his tweet from last night about the Lakers and LeBron.
So here's what Skip had to say on his YouTube channel about LeBron James.
From the 8-minute mark down to the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter. How many times have we seen this in LeBron's career when he goes crazy, nutty, hot in the middle of a fourth quarter and then right on schedule, nothing. He fades, he shrinks, he disappears. Happened again tonight. Game tied, and guess what happened? Home team goes on a 13-1 run to close the game. 13-1 to win the game, 116 to 104. Lakers scored one single measly, lousy point over the last 4:37. That was when Austin Reeves went to the free throw line. I think he's the Lakers closer. He has not played well in this series yet.
Thoughts?
Listen to how stupid this man is. And you know what? If I would have dedicated my life to writing like him and Stephen A. Smith and then got on a TV show, I could bring some actual fucking common sense and knowledge to these two morons, especially this idiot. So if you watch that game last night, and I don't think he understands what he's watching. But let's go back further than that, right? He's talking about, LeBron goes and he hits 3 threes in that 8 to 6 minute mark, right, of the game. And so the Lakers get right back into the game. The game they tied it at 103, I think, on a Luka. It's like a Luka, I don't know, 7, 8, 9 footer there, and they tie the game at 103. Now, LeBron, he's questioning as LeBron has disappeared. LeBron disappeared one time in the finals, and that was in 2011. In 2012, they won. In 2013, they won. Okay, and I love how they say Ray Allen. When you watch the lead up to that Ray Allen shot, they were down 5. LeBron had to hit a 3 before that. They fouled Ginobili. Ginobili goes 1 of 2. Okay, so LeBron actually hit a shot within the last 29 seconds of that game for Ray Allen to get to that point, but it doesn't matter. Okay, the series against the Warriors, all of the series against the Warriors, he was arguably the best player on the floor all 4 series, and 2 of them weren't even close. The first 2 series before Durant got there. Okay, so I'm not going to sit here. This guy's an idiot, and he can go back and we can go back and look at LeBron's numbers in the fourth quarter of any playoff series. He probably has the most points per game in the fourth quarter. But whatever. But the funny thing is that this dumbass old man goes on YouTube last night and talks about a man who is 40 fucking years old. 40. He was 7 of 10 from the line. We know LeBron's strong suit is not the free throw line, although this year he had a career year. He shot over 50% from 3. He was 5 of 9 from 3. 13 of 21 from the field. He had 38, 10. He had 4 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks. He had 1 turnover. You know how many Luka had? I know Luka was sick. He had 5 turnovers. Luka had 5 turnovers. Austin Reeves had 4. They had 9 between those 2 players had 9. You know how many the T-Wolves had? 8 combined as a team. The Lakers last night had 16 turnovers. Now, when you watch that game last night, there's a couple plays that, for me, were kind of deflating a little bit for the Lakers. One possession, Minnesota miss. They get an offensive rebound. They miss again to get an offensive rebound. Luka finally grabs the rebound. Ball stolen from him. Ends up in a bucket for Minnesota. Okay. Lakers go down, don't score. Next possession, you get a miss. You get a miss from Minnesota. You get an offensive rebound. You get another miss. Then you get a defensive rebound by Vanderbilt. The ball stolen from him because he's on the sideline doing that stupid shit. Where they're kind of hopping on the sideline. Bro, listen. First of all, you don't throw the ball right under the basket. Okay? You don't throw the ball right under the opponent's basket. That's 1. Okay? Number 2, you could have stayed on your feet, but you didn't. You turned it over. That turned into a 3. That's a 5-point swing there. Couple of plays later, Luka gets a rebound. LeBron had gotten hot. LeBron was hot. Luka gets a rebound, tries an outlet pass. There was no point for the outlet pass. It was literally you're outletting to LeBron. It would have been 1-on-2. There was no point. LeBron fumbles it. LeBron couldn't catch the ball. Fumbles it off his hands. It's a turnover. Okay? There was no point in forcing that play down court. It was 1-on-2. There was no point. Luka, I understand. He was sick. He wasn't in the game. But for LeBron's 40 years old. Everyone's talking about how good Luka is, how he's the 2nd or 3rd best player in the league. And you're here bashing a 40-year-old man who shot better than 50% from 3, better than 60% from the field last night. Okay. Had 38 points, 10 boards, and only had 1 turnover. And I think he had like 12 or 13 points in the fourth quarter. At 40 years old. Skip Bayless, are you stupid? What was Michael Jordan doing at 40? I know what he was doing. Let's get this old motherfucker in the game so they can foul him. He can shoot through 2 free throws and end the season averaging 20. Can you imagine if they did that for LeBron? You'd lose your shit, Skip Bayless. You would lose your shit. You're stupid. And that dumbass show, I don't watch that shit because you're dumb. You're ignorant. You will always hate LeBron because Jordan was your era. That's it.
I don't even think his show is lot like that. Him and Shannon show Undisputed is done, right? I don't even think they do it anymore.
No, he's on
They
that
got-
1 versus 25 on YouTube or Barstool, or I don't know what
Yeah.
the fuck it is. Yeah, no, he's a fucking idiot. He's an idiot. And all these Jordan lovers, like, they just sit back there and they forget that LeBron's 40. If you watched that game last night and you see the defensive rotation of LeBron James at 40 fucking years old in that third quarter, come on, man. Come on, man. It's insane. And he's 40. He's 40. He's 40 years old. You're talking about a man who scored 38 on better than 60% shooting from the field, better than 50% from three. And with 9 attempts, by the way, it wasn't like he was 1 for 2. He was 5 of 9 from 3. And his teammate is supposedly the 3rd best player in the league at 25 or 26 years old. And that's who you're blaming, Skip Bayless? Fuck you. Go fuck yourself, Skip Bayless. And you can post that shit and tag him and tweet him. He don't give a fuck. We're not important enough for him to reply. But anyways, Lakers T-Wolves series 2-1 in that series. Game 4 is tomorrow.
Well, we're jumping around a lot here, so let's go ahead and jump around to another just topic that is all up in the media. This one is a little bit contentious, but a LeBron lover is now just fallen from grace. Here is Shannon Sharpe, and here's what he had to say about these women that are attacking him. Take a look.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey, Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by Gabby, also known as Carly on OnlyFans. Gabby and Tony Busby want $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys. Thanks.
Awesome.
Listen, I don't like to talk about people's relationships and whatever the fuck they do with their. But I'll tell you what I didn't like. I hate, and I cannot stand how he comes out and he says, "Oh, because Tony Busby or whatever the fuck the lawyer's name is, he targets black men." Does he only sue black men? I would, if he only sues black men, fine. But I'm almost sure you're wrong. I hate that shit. Oh, because they only target black men and this and that. This is where I think Shannon fucked up. That it got out that he offered her $10 million.
Yep.
So he offered her $10 million. That kind of, we saw what happened with Diddy and Cassie. He offered her whatever it was, right? She wanted something, and she ends up paying her, and then I'm fucking prison. So I mean, Diddy was different, but same, but different. So he offered her money, paid her off, and at the end of the day, Diddy was guilty anyways. You offered her $10 million. She wants 50. I think it's an absurd number. I think 10 million is an absurd number. I saw the video, that edit that they put out where he's talking about choking her or whatever. To me, I think it's totally felt like a sexual thing. I don't think he meant it literally. It didn't sound like it at all, especially at the end of the audio that they put out that TMZ posted or whatever. But Shannon shouldn't be on ESPN. I know he stepped away from ESPN.
Really?
I don't think he should be on ESPN because people like Shannon because of the shit that he says. Because he's honest as fuck. And you can't be honest on ESPN. They have some sort of agenda. So there's not there's certain things you can't say. Right? And so Shannon doesn't need them. He doesn't need ESPN, in my opinion. I think Shannon is big in his own right. And, so him stepping away from ESPN, I think any one of those, I think a network for me, sets Shannon back. because
Really?
Shannon. Yes, because I like to hear Shannon speak uninterrupted, as far unedited. I want to hear Shannon say what he has on his mind.
Yeah,
I want to hear
yeah.
Shannon
I would
say
just argue that without ESPN, his biggest attachment is that Lakers in 5 thing, right? And he does that on ESPN. I don't know. I just feel like him on First Take specifically was a great matchup.
when we look at Shannon, the reason that he got that ESPN deal, okay, he was on Undisputed, we know, right? And after Undisputed, he's doing his own podcast, the Club Shay Shay or whatever. What put him on the map is the and he'll admit to it, because I think I've heard him say it, if I'm not mistaken. What put him back on the map or elevated his status? I'm not going to say put him on the map. Like he's been on the fucking map.
Right.
What elevated his status was the Cat Williams interview. How he let Cat go, and that interview fucking skyrocketed. And he let Cat go, and he let Cat talk. And that's how I like to listen to people. I like to listen because you get their honest opinion. I don't want you on I don't want to watch, because I don't watch ESPN. I don't watch First Take. Whatever comes on through my Instagram from First Take, whatever, I like comedian who redoes. They got, I think it's 3 different guys. They do a Shannon.
Yeah. Yes, I
and it's called The Last Take. It's called The Last Take. Yeah, it's called The Last Take. I've been watching it for a month. It's called The Last Take on Instagram and TikTok. You got to check it out. And we'll make a little clip for him, CJ, if you can, and fucking tag him. He's phenomenal. He's funny. That's how I like to watch Shannon Sharpe. I want to see Shannon Sharpe. I want to see him unleashed. I don't want to see him with ESPN. I like to see him with Ocho. I like to see it with Club Shay Shay. I like to see him unleashed. And he's a freak. And you're a freak, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can't be a freak and work at ESPN. I mean, you can, but you're a low-key freak.
It doesn't work.
But you're not a low-key freak anymore. You way out there. Even the first sex tape, the first sex Instagram live or whatever, you was already a freak. Surprise, Disney.
Who's
Disney
already
kept you there.
she's suing him too.
Imagine. Yeah, man, it's too much for Disney. Shannon, just stay on the outside, baby, doing your thing. You keep the freak show on. You should have a new show called The Freak Show. You should have the freak show with the dude from The Last Take, man.
No, thank you.
Dude,
no,
Shannon is phenomenal talent.
I just heard my Michelle on video last night talking about he was built like a Greek goddess. I said, I'm done with this. I'm done. I've heard enough. I'm done. I can't watch any of this shit anymore. I just got told that motherfucker Shannon is built like a Greek goddess. We knew that already. All right? We knew that.
So almost Miles Garrett like. Almost. That's a Greek goddess right there. That motherfucker, man. He got a roster too, baby. Do we have a SHEDEUR Sanders update or not yet?
Well, the Las Vegas Raiders are coming up with the 135th pick. So you spoke on it earlier. The Broncos pick is in right now, and we'll see what the Raiders have to do. But I just wanted to get your thoughts on, it's too early. The draft is not over. Not doing grades or anything like that. But what are your biggest takeaways from the draft? What teams have made the best moves? What teams have done nothing? What's your thoughts?
My thoughts are kind of what I expected. Was the Browns and the Giants, and we talked about on Two Nobodies. Eddie talked about it about the Giants. He thought the Giants would win day one. I thought Cleveland had 2 picks in that first round because you gave us a list that had it. So, but the Giants, to me, the Giants have done a phenomenal job. That defense is going to be really good. They're going to keep Thibodeau. They have Burns. They have Dexter Lawrence. They added their first 2 pick. Well, I think 2 of their 3 picks or whatever. They added Dual Carter, who to me I think is the best player in the draft. And then they had Jackson Dart, which is they thought Jackson Dart was better than SHEDEUR. Bottom line, that's obvious, right? They went out and got him in the first round. Now, when you're a Giants fan, you're looking at it, it's like we got 4 quarterbacks. In reality, Tommy DeVito is, he's probably going to be gone, right? Practice squad or whatever, which he's probably fine with because he never expected to have this much. He got his 15 minutes worth. But you have Russell Wilson and Jameis. And then you're going to have Jackson Dart, and who knows, training camp, there's injuries and all that. Maybe they move Jameis. And maybe they move Jameis before the season starts, and Jackson is the 2. So I love what the Giants did. I love what the Giants did. I love what the Browns have done. Denver taking a corner in the first round. And if you look at Denver, I mean, you can argue that in the next 2 years, they might have 2 shutdown corners. In Denver did a good job. Denver, I think, has done a good job. So I mean, very impressive with those three teams. I think
Nice.
Denver, the Giants, and the Browns, and
Nice.
the Ravens also, by the way.
I'll have to say I'm not mad with my 49ers picks. It's been all defense. And that's what the hell we need because we lost Tufunga, we lost Greenlaw, we lost a lot of guys in defense, so I'm not mad at it. But the Raiders pick is in.
Let's go to the Raiders.
And so let's see what the Raiders got going on.
Best game, really. It's the biggest moment against Georgia so far. And he's a player. I love the upside. You watch him and you see flashes where it's so. Can you get more? Can we get him to level up a little bit? Because I think.
Can you hear this, Rafa, or is it?
Yeah, I can hear it. I can hear it.
Consistent play. His pass rush technique needs a lot of work. But with Denver Broncos, they're going to want to stand their rushers up. Guys like Dick Benito coming off the edge. He's going to fit exactly in that mold of what Sean Payton's team wants to do on defense, guys. But again, the athleticism's there. I think he's got.
We were just talking about Denver, and look who they go out and get an Alabama rusher. And the Raiders take defensive tackle Tonka Hemingway from South Carolina. A lot of players from that South Carolina defense getting drafted, huh?
Remember, South Carolina had that good
run
into the
last year.
season.
Yeah. So and now we touch on it again. What impact did Tom Brady have on SHEDEUR? Or actually, we can kind of repeat that. We can switch that around. SHEDEUR seems to not have an impact on Tom Brady as far as his, I don't know, likableness. I don't know. I don't want to hear from anyone about his 4,100 yards last year with his 37 touchdowns and 10 interceptions. I don't want to hear it because we've seen plenty of quarterbacks in college football have phenomenal years. We've seen it for the history of time. Jason White won the Heisman. He ends up getting drafted like in the 7th round, never plays a fucking lick of quarterback. I mean, it's endless quarterbacks. Tim Tebow won 2 national titles, a Heisman, should have won 2 Heismans.
Mac Jones
wins a playoff game. No, Mac Jones actually got drafted in the 1st round.
You're right.
But
he didn't pan out to be shit.
Yeah, A.J. McCarron, Craig McElroy. And I know they got drafted, but not very high. Right? Tim Tebow actually won a playoff game and nobody wanted his ass. He won an NFL playoff game. Nobody fucking wanted him. Like, nah, we don't want him. Because they don't want, I want to say with Tebow, it was kind of like his talent, you know, he wasn't very talented in the NFL, right? Not the intangibles that all these idiots want or whatever. But kind of, he brought a crowd, he brought a sideshow kind of a little bit, people felt, I think. And again, it's been said before that he was just too religious, too, whatever, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. But teams don't like it, obviously. I mean, listen, and if an NFL quarterback wins a playoff game, I mean, I don't know how he doesn't get a job the next year. Even Daniel Jones has a job. And he won a playoff game 2 years ago. So, I mean, I don't know what to think of SHEDEUR at this point. At this point, it seems like he goes undrafted, CJ.
Hey, yeah, that's what it's looking, because you said it on 2 nobodies. I mean, the Dolphins are like the only team really left that could possibly take a quarterback.
Well, they need a backup. I mean, there's plenty. The Raiders need a backup unless you're going to go with AOC as a backup.
Miami has Zach Wilson.
Yeah. So they need a backup. So, I mean, I know you're going to stand pat with Zach Wilson, but I mean, there's got to be teams out there. I mean, the Steelers. I know they brought Mason Rudolph back, who had a small little flash there with the Titans and beat Miami on the road. I mean, when he came into that game, but and the Steelers, we know they're holding out for Aaron Rodgers. What about the Jets? Do the Jets take a SHEDEUR for a backup quarterback? Better thrower than Justin Fields, most think. The one stat that's astonishing for me that I heard the last couple of days is that SHEDEUR completes over 80% of his passes when he's not under duress.
Yes, that's true.
That's a stat that I heard. And him standing in the pocket, that supposedly he's really good in the pocket and this and that. I failed to see a lot of it. Okay. But you know, but the sideshow, the NFL has shown you that they don't want to see it, and all 32 GMs have banded together. It seems like that's why I don't think that the Tom Brady thing was a thing. I really don't. I don't.
I agree with you. At this
I
point,
can't.
there's
I
no way
can't.
I can't. This is putting too much, with that saying attaching the fact that he was Tom Brady's mentee, putting too much shit on Tom Brady's, legacy. Like, oh, remember when Tom Brady tried to mentor SHEDEUR and SHEDEUR to get no, fuck that. He didn't. There's no way.
I would have loved to get Eddie on and talk about this because I would
fine.
love to hear what Eddie's take was on this.
Let me text him. You got nothing but time.
Yeah, we got some time, and if Eddie wants to get into it, I know he's got a party to go to, but we got a little bit of time. And
all right, you're recording. Go ahead.
We're recording.
Yes, sir.
All right, Eddie. So we're bringing on Eddie from the Two Nobodies podcast. So Eddie, we were talking about first time on Yappin. So
that's right.
This is what I brought up to CJ, and we talked about it a little bit earlier, and I wanted to bring you on to get your take. So what I was saying is now there was plenty of rumors that had gone around for months and for the last year that Tom Brady was supposedly SHEDEUR's mentor.
Okay.
And I don't know if you remember hearing that, right?
Yeah, since high school.
Right. So if that is your mentor, Tom Brady, who's 10% owner of the Raiders, which kind of leaves you an explanation of why maybe Tom Brady's not reaching out to teams on his behalf, like saying, hey, this kid, yada, 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 right? Because he's 10% owner of the Raiders, so maybe he can't do that.
Yeah.
But you have means of getting it there. That's one. The other thing is, if Tom Brady has mentored this kid, the Raiders in reality need a backup quarterback similar to Geno. Similar to Geno, we know AOC is not similar to Geno. Why, if Tom Brady was his mentor, are the Raiders not taking him? And it makes me think that this supposed mentorship maybe really wasn't there as much as possible. But what do you think?
So you're spot on. Number one, there's been trade rumors for a month that the Raiders are trying to trade AOC. Okay. Obviously, they haven't found anybody at this point. The mentorship. Listen, Patrick Bet-David. I was in a couple meetings with him, knew him personally. Do I tell people that he was my mentor? I really can't say that. Was he trying to help me for a little bit? Yes. It might have not have been as prominent as people think. We don't know. Supposedly, they spoke after every game. Supposedly, they saw each other once a month and ran through some stuff. But at this point, the Raiders, like you said, need a backup quarterback. They're literally going to be not have enough arms in camp at this point.
Right.
It's gonna. They have to take him, Rafa, and it's just it's a crazy thing. I've never seen anything like this. This is Aaron Rodgers sliding to the 24th pick times.
You remember that?
Right. But
this is times 5.
To Rafa's point, the Miami Dolphins, we spoke about earlier, coming out the next pick at 143. Any chance that the Miami Dolphins take SHEDEUR with the 143rd pick?
I would. I like it. There was rumors of Miami trying to trade Tua before the draft, and you don't really have a good backup there. You're getting value. We all know Tua's health issues. He still doesn't slide very well. I think Dolphins are a good spot for him. Offensive team, offensive coach. I think the Rams is a really good spot for him. McVay, obviously quarterback guru, and he's strong enough to stand up to a Sanders. Sanders ain't. They're not firing McVay to hire a Deion Sanders. There's so many things in this equation, Rafa and CJ. One, his dad is a possible candidate for an NFL job.
Mia's gonna make this video go viral, by the way.
Yes.
So good. So good.
She is.
So good.
2, he doesn't have an agent, right? So the traditional means of an agent. This is what you hire an agent for. You're calling and making deals and saying, hey, why, you're getting rumors. I think the Sanders camp had too much pride in this process. I think he should have thrown in the combine. He's an accurate passer. It's probably his strength. You didn't have to run the 40, right? You didn't have to do shuttle drills. He would have shined. No one really looked good throwing in the a lot of people. He would have shined there. And there's just so many factors, Rafa, and I hate to say it, man, but we said it. I said it, and I got a lot of hate for it that SHEDEUR Sanders is not a first round talent at quarterback. So, I got people telling me they're doing him dirty. Here we go.
Let's bring in Miami.
The Miami Dolphins select Jordan Phillips, defensive
Nope.
Nope.
Maryland.
When the Raiders come in, we got a couple more for the Raiders.
Yeah. So real quick on this point, people are calling me like they're doing him dirty. How is he not? They're thinking that this is some kind of conspiracy theory at this point.
Yeah, we touched on that earlier before we brought you on. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe he just was overhyped. Maybe it's the exact opposite.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Maybe the film is what the film is.
And we've seen plenty of quarterbacks play well in college and then never get the chance in the NFL. Whether it's Stetson Bennett, who was all but 5'11", but won 2 national titles, finished 4th or 5th in the Heisman. Like, there's been plenty of quarterbacks over time. Craig McElroy, although he was drafted, and AJ McCarron were drafted. Like a bunch of guys that have played well in college, but none with the hype of SHEDEUR. And so my question for you, Ed, is I said this earlier. When the Browns passed up on him the first couple of picks, right? Mm-hmm. I thought for them just taking Dylan Brooks instead of taking SHEDEUR, I felt like for them it was just like we needed a quarterback. We need a quarterback because we brought in Joe Flacco. And he's made a playoff, and they added to their defense through the draft, which they've done a great job so far, right?
Yeah.
They brought in Dylan Brooks. Them drafting Dylan Brooks, to me, I don't think they really believe that Dylan Brooks is better than SHEDEUR. It's just that they drafted a quarterback in a backup quarterback in Dylan Brooks. And if you brought in SHEDEUR to be a backup, I think it just brings a whole level of just too much drama. Like you said, all his throws are going to be scrutinized and, this, that, better than all the other guys. Do you think that bringing him in, who brings him in if he doesn't get drafted? Who signs him, right, as an unrestricted free agent? Who signs him? Mm-hmm. And does he make a team if he goes undrafted?
Oh, so number one, I think he will get drafted. There's too much value and upside, right? He will get drafted. Number two, like I said, I think the Rams make a lot of sense, and I think the Raiders make a lot of sense, simply because you have a Tom Brady, you have a veteran head coach, you have veteran leadership with Max Crosby that are going to, and I don't think he's not going to work hard. He's gonna be a hard worker. I think Raiders, obviously being Vegas, a lot of bling and shine in Vegas, which it just, Vegas makes a ton of sense to me. Cleveland never made a lot of sense to me. Cleveland never made. New York did, but I do think the Raiders will take him. I do think Tom Brady, I don't think it's a favor at this point. It's value. My issue with this, though, Rafa, and we've talked about this a lot, is does he fit in a Chip Kelly system? You know, it is very dumpy, dinky dumpy, but also,
and he did a lot of that. He did a lot of the dinking and dunking.
Yes. 60% of his throws were 7 yards or closer. If there was a stat they showed yesterday that Shedeur Sanders' average pass in the air was 7.4 yards. Okay. Out of 124 qualified quarterbacks in the NCAA, that ranked 104th. So this is not a myth. This is not a myth. This is not a conspiracy theory. This is something that you can watch film and you can equate, the reason why he's dropping. Another thing is, the one thing that Shedeur had to stand on.
Eddie's cooking. Cook, Ed. Cook.
The one thing that Shedeur stood on was 70% completion rating. I believe maybe number 1 or number 2 in the NCAA. Okay. Now, what he would consider a strength actually became a crutch for him. That's why he never threw the ball away. That's why he ran around and took too many sacks. People say, oh, his line was garbage. And CJ knows this as an offensive lineman. In a passing league, you get 3.5 seconds to throw the ball. That's in passing league. In the NFL, I don't think it's 3 seconds. That's what happened to Caleb Williams this rookie's year. It's not college football anymore. You cannot, Fran Tarkenton, you cannot, run into sacks, which there was a ton of that on film. So is it a little dirty? No one's picked him. There is evidence on why he should have dropped like this. I don't know, 6th round, 5th round, though. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It is. And a lot of the people are using, we talked about it earlier, a lot of the people are using the race thing. And so we alluded to that. How many black players have already been
Shedeur
picked?
Sanders was just picked to the Cleveland Browns with the 145th pick.
Wow.
So there you go.
Wow. Live, baby. We were here live.
So
now we get to talk about this, which is great now that we got this and we got Eddie on here because we were just talking about it and I brought it up. So now if you're the Browns, right, we know Watson's not going to play this year and that's probably done with. At the end of the day, he's getting all his money anyways. So you can easily cut him, right? Now you have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Assuming we know Deshaun Watson not playing this year.
Yes.
So you have Dylan Brooks, right? And Joe Flacco and Shedeur. How are you treating this, Eddie? What do you think?
You mean Dylan Gabriel? You keep on saying
Dylan Gabriel. I'm sorry, Dylan Gabriel.
Dylan Brooks is basketball player.
Phenomenal.
That's what I was thinking. I thought I was tripping. I'm glad you said something.
He's a phenomenal defender in Houston. Damn it.
Dylan Brooks.
I'm sorry, Dylan Gabriel, the Hawaiian lefty. Similar to Tua, by the way. In a lot of ways, right? So what do you think, Ed, going into training camp with the two, they're basically battling for a backup spot, but Joe Flacco's the starter. An older, they brought him in to obviously start, right? An older guy, Joe Flacco can easily be beat out for the starting job. This for Shedeur and Dylan Gabriel has to be, especially for Shedeur, he's got to have a huge chip on his shoulder now. Woo. Going in there. And he's got to be looking at Dylan Gabriel like, hey, you know what? They took you before me, but I'm going to prove to you that I'm more talented than you, and I can get it done. But what's your take on the Browns here taking him?
Well, probably the most shocking pick for me in this draft was Dylan Gabriel.
Insane.
That was a head scratcher. I think they might have righted their wrong. I like him going there. 100% Dylan Gabriel is a not as talented as a thrower than Shedeur. He's more athletic. He takes off and runs, but what's his name? The head coach, you know, he's a great offensive mind. He's a really good offensive coach. Man, I'm happy for him now. I need cameras. I need cameras.
I need Hard Knocks.
I need
Hard
cameras.
Knocks. I want Hard Knocks. I want Hard Knocks in Cleveland. That's what I want.
CJ, is there any live footage of them going to SHEDEUR at any moment for this pick at all?
Not that I'm looking at. I have about 3 different feeds up, and there's nothing.
Okay, so we got nothing on it.
Yeah, once it pops up, I'll put it up on the screen.
Okay, so I thought the Browns would take him. I thought the Browns would take him a round ago at least, or 2 rounds. I thought they would take him before Dillon Gabriel, but I also thought the Raiders would take him at the end of the 3rd when they had 2 picks.
Yeah.
And I thought the Raiders, you know what, making them, you know, the 98th or 99th pick, I thought the Raiders would come in and take him.
Yeah.
And
this is confusing me. I'm sorry. Dillon Gabriel and SHEDEUR?
Like, well, the only time I remember this happening was when the Redskins took RG3 in the first round, and then took Kirk Cousins in the 3rd or the 4th. I think it was the 3rd. They took
3rd, maybe.
And it worked out for them because RG3 ended up getting hurt. They end up franchising him twice afterwards.
Yeah.
And, you know, we know Kirk's had a pretty good career and made plenty of fucking money. So
yeah, but you're talking about Deshaun Watson, Joe Flacco, Dillon Gabriel, Kenny Pickett, and
Deshaun Watson is not going to be able to play this year from what has been said, right? From what all the reports are, he's not going to be able to play. Joe Flacco is a 40-year-old, I believe, backup, right? Who, yes, we alluded to earlier, led the team to the playoffs when they had the number 1 defense. He led them to that. They were horrible on the road. They had the number 1 defense at home. They added to their defense through this draft. They did a good job. I think the Browns have done a great job. To me, the 2nd best draft. And now we can maybe put them right there with the Giants, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what you think, Ed. I thought the Giants and Denver.
I
and
love
the Browns,
Denver. I think
those were the 3 I alluded to earlier. I think those were the 3 that had done the best so far.
Yeah.
Were those 3 for me. I love what Denver did.
Yeah.
But Cleveland here, CJ, I think you're going to get a hell of a quarterback competition for not only the backup job.
Well, Dillon Gabriel's anxiety just flew through the fucking roof, in my opinion.
Oh, 100%. Because when you feel he was drafted in the 3rd, you kind of like, all right, I'm drafted as QB2 here.
Yeah.
Right. Now there's a guy who a lot of people thought was a 1st-round talent. Okay, and a lot of the professional minds and what they do, a lot of the guys thought he was a 1st-round talent. So now coming in, I think you not only have they're not competing for QB2 because you're battling against a 40-year-old man. I think you got a chance here at QB1 for SHEDEUR in the 5th round.
Hold on. Is Kenny Pickett not a Cleveland Brown?
Oh, God. So is there 4 guys?
This is the QB room without Deshaun Watson.
Oh, my
Joe
God.
Flacco, Dillon
Gabriel,
Kenny Pickett, and SHEDEUR Sanders.
Oh, my goodness, Eddie.
Let's rewind to where Myles Garrett wrote a letter and said, thank you, Cleveland. One of Myles Garrett's biggest concerns was, I want to win. What's the plan at quarterback? Can we now say there was no fucking plan at quarterback? I mean,
zero
throwing darts at a wall.
Oh, my God.
Myles Garrett has to be like, well, it's a plan.
Well, they got 5 guys. Well, technically 4 because Watson can't play.
They got 5 plans.
They got 4 guys. And SHEDEUR,
oh my God,
SHEDEUR has to be thinking. Listen, if we look at the teams that could have drafted him, with the exception of Pittsburgh, right? Because Pittsburgh, their mind is set on Aaron Rodgers, and what we believe is Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. Even if Miami takes him, if the Raiders take him, if the Giants would have taken him. Any other, or the Rams would have taken him. If any of those other teams would have taken him, SHEDEUR would have known right off the gate. I think right off the bat, there's no way I'm QB1. To me, if I'm SHEDEUR coming into Cleveland, whether it's in the 5th round or whatever, whether it's in the 5th or the 2nd or the 3rd or whatever, SHEDEUR comes in thinking he can be QB1. And I believe, and Dillon Gabriel has to believe the same thing, that they can be QB1. Kenny Pickett has to know, you know what? I might be locked into QB3 at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Just because they brought me in, but I might get traded in training camp to somebody who goes down and might need a backup, right?
Yeah.
Right.
So, I mean, for SHEDEUR, it turns out to be, although in the 5th round, maybe best case situation for him to be able to start. You knew if the Raiders took him, you knew it was going to be at least a year and a half to play.
Yes.
Right? Because Gino's definitely going to get the benefit of the doubt the entire season. And if he struggled this year, and he's definitely going to get the benefit of the doubt to start year 2 because the amount of money that they gave him and what he's done. And so at least with the Raiders, if you went there, you knew a year and a half. If you went to the Rams, you knew at least 2 because Matthew's going to play at least 2 more, right? Barring injuries.
Yes.
And so now in Cleveland, there's no real QB1 unless we're considering a 40-plus-year-old man who's played well. So SHEDEUR, I think, was the best case for him, although not in the 5th round. But I think it's best case. Go ahead, Ed.
Agree. Every guy in that room, except for Flacco, Flacco, like you said, he played incredible in that system. Incredible. Was kind of a revelation, right? Like they pulled him off the couch, took him to the playoffs. Flacco was incredible. But every guy in that room, including Kenny Pickett, it's gonna be.
He's taking me QB1.
It's. You remember that scene in Dark Knight where at the pool table they drag the Joker in. He pulls. He's like, we're looking for recruits, but we only have room for one. They snap a pool stick and make them kill each other. It's gonna be like that scene. Like guys are gonna be
Red Wedding.
Just oh my God, it's gonna be murder in that room. The competition is going to be off the charts. Cleveland is now, a spotlight on every throw.
100%.
Why can't we get Hard Knocks there? Is that already decided?
You know what? I don't think they have yet.
That'd be a great Hard Knocks.
That'd be the best Hard Knocks ever.
100%. The other upside that you can look at as a Browns fan is you can think, well, we have 2 guys that we drafted in the 3rd and the 5th round who can be our future 1 and 2s. And there's nothing wrong with being a backup quarterback in the NFL because you make plenty of money anyways. So in Dylan Gabriel and SHEDEUR, because we know Joe Flacco's got, 10 games maybe left in him. I don't think he's
I'll say this though, Rafa. You said the Browns might have had one of the best drafts. This could go down as a monumental worst draft that ever. You traded out of the 2 spot. Jags come on in, get a so-called unicorn. If Travis Hunter does what he thinks and says he can do and be a, let's say, not even Pro Bowl receiver, not even Pro Bowl, but a top flight cornerback and top flight receiver for the Jags, and you traded out of that spot to get Mason Graham, who we like, right? But
everybody likes.
He's a defensive tackle. You might hear his name 4 or 5 times in a game total.
But it's different when you're a defensive tackle playing with arguably the best defensive end in the league, right? Yeah. So you added a kind of a diamond piece in the middle when you already have a platinum diamond on the outside, right?
Right.
So if we're gonna make Mason Graham's job a little easier,
a lot easier.
Having a stud on that outside. When I mean a stud, you know what I mean if you watch the 2 Nobodies.
Oh yeah, man crush, baby.
Man crush. So, but you're right. And you know what I was thinking when I think they were picking in the 2nd round? Every time the Browns have picked, it's crossed my mind that you could have had Travis Hunter and SHEDEUR Sanders together. You could have had it. And
I just this is kind of off topic, but it's on topic, but it's off topic. ESPN, you guys are right. They're just now bringing up the 4 quarterback situation 5 to 10 minutes after you guys have already talked about it. They're late.
We should be on. My boy, I'm telling you.
No question.
I told you that. If Eddie and I would have been writers first, we would have our own show on ESPN. There's no doubt about it.
We cook
There's no doubt about it. But it was. I mean, what else? What other takes you have on this draft, Ed? You're a Raider fan. You're happy with it.
let me
Yeah.
cover one. Let me cover one last thing on the Browns.
Okay.
I think that Carson Schlesinger, I hyped him up.
Yeah.
This kid is going to be a Luke Kuechly
Ooh.
style, just an amazing linebacker. That pick at the first spot in the second round, teams loved him. I told my my ex NFL friend Mark McMillan, I said, watch out for Carson Schlesinger. He's not going to last 10 picks in the second draft. Boom. First pick in the second round, Carson Schlesinger goes. So that defense got a lot better.
I think that defense is going to be phenomenal as well.
It's going to be great.
Do. I really do.
Now, on to the Raiders draft.
Come on.
Rafa and I kind of see eye to eye on this, on Ashton Genty, because people know I'm a draftnik. People know, I'm a Raider fan, love the drafts. I follow it all year long. CJ, I am still not convinced, and I'm definitely on the outside, skirts of this opinion that Ashton Genty's highlights were probably a mixture of really shitty tackling and a good running back.
Yes.
Now, that being said, Rafa and I thought you should have picked the tackle from Missouri at 6, who went the pick after, and in the second round, either running back who went earlier than projected from Ohio State went. You could have had a starting right tackle and Judkins or Henderson. To me, that's what I would have liked to see. Now, Lord knows, I hope I'm wrong. I hope I'm so wrong about Ashton Genty, and he turns out to be a generational running back, rookie of the year. People are asking me of comparisons, and I finally came up with one yesterday. And I think at his best, he will be kind of his name, just the Colts running back.
Edgerrin James?
No. He got hurt. He had a great rookie and sophomore year. He's on the team now.
Oh, Jonathan Taylor.
Jonathan Taylor.
Oh, that's high praise. That is high praise.
I'm telling you, I think that's my comparison at his highest.
At his peak.
At his peak. And Jonathan Taylor was, he's kind of declined a little bit, but he was a monster. But 5'8", 220, 218, he's built well. He's going to get the rock. He's going to, get a lot of carries. But what I tell people is that Judkins from Ohio State and Henderson from Ohio State, if you put their numbers right up next to Ashton Genty, you look at their averages, they're 7 yards a carry. Okay. They each had 140 less carries. Now put Judkins or Henderson in a situation where you're trying to get them the Heisman, and I think they do what Ashton Genty did at Boise State. I really believe that.
I think so too. I think if you took Genty and you put him in a Big Ten team or on an SEC team, I don't think he has even close to the year that he had.
It was clear. Listen, I understand what they did. He came out of the gates and had 3 or 4 games that was a Barry Sanders, like, whoa, holy moly, this guy. So if you're Boise State and you struggle for airtime and you struggle to get those 5-star and 4-star recruits, what's your strategy? We have a Heisman candidate. That season last year, Rafa, we both know, we saw him in games where they're up 35 points. That was a Heisman winning campaign put into your offensive game plan. It just was. It just was. So
there's no denying it.
I hope I'm wrong, but I love those Ohio State running backs, man. I love him. So, second pick, I like Besh. And Rafa keeps on asking me, well, where did he go 21 and 22? Where did he go? He did disappear for a little bit when at LSU, had a great freshman season, bad sophomore season, transferred to TCU, didn't have a good season, and then had a breakout season last year.
So Eddie, like you were saying, Genty is what you expect him to be a good running back for a couple of years, is what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, listen, running back, the average shelf life of an NFL player is 3.5. Running back is probably, even less than that. But
that's why it bothers me, the pick.
Yeah.
That's what bothered me about it. Because I thought, and I said in the group chat, I know you're more of a you understand the Raiders more than I do, and you're deep in their roster and all that. But if I was the Raiders, I would have gone T-Mac and then taken a running back in my second round.
Yeah.
Because I think T-Mac is going to be one of those guys.
Oh, 100%.
I love that he went to a fellow Trinity League opponent. He needs, right? Bryce Young needs that 6'4" type. Throw it up, go get it. He needs it. He needs it, and he looked good at the second half of the last season.
Shout out to the Trinity League, 2 top 10 picks, man.
I saw them. You had to think they have known each other for a very long time.
Oh, yes,
right.
Yes. They played Pop Warner 7-on-7, all that good stuff.
I'll tell you what, Rafa. Me and CJ were just talking. If anything, ESPN and NFL Network needs to write a check to the Sanders family, because as much as a draft Nick as I am, usually 5th, 6th, 7th round,
you're not watching.
I'm like passing by the TV. What do we get? Looking up on the phone. This has been the Real Housewives of the NFL. This has been. CJ said his grandma texted him. What's going on?
Yes.
It's crazy. I'm telling you. I didn't.
It's wild. It's wild. It's
so they
wild.
had people tuning in today to see if SHEDEUR was drafted. There's 100%.
Usually, if I'm being completely honest, I can get through the first 15 picks. And after that, once I see my team, if my team's usually is later, but if my team gets passed up their first pick, I usually just tune out. I've been watching.
I usually don't tune in. I usually don't tune in too much for after the first 10 picks. So, right. And I was locked in all the way till today because SHEDEUR wasn't picked. Eddie's right, 100%. They should pay these guys some money.
Yeah, I mean the advertising. You have grandmas and aunties and titis and ninos and nanas all watching the NFL draft. They're finally a part of it now. Welcome.
By the way, you know what it shows you. By the way, it shows you the star power of Dion and SHEDEUR that they have. It shows you that star power. Now, do the Browns come in and take Shiloh in the 7th, or maybe offer him a free agent, come out to training camp and check it out?
If they had any brains,
they would
1,000%. 1,000%.
By the way, and Stefanski's the coach in Cleveland, right?
Stefanski, yes.
Yeah. Okay. A lot of people thought, they gave him a kind of a free year because of all the quarterback issues. And, you alluded to this earlier when you came on, Eddie, about, if the Rams were to take him, McVay would never be fired. But now, if the Browns don't do well with all that they've done on defense, right? And, they'll continue to add pieces throughout. If the Browns don't do well and they go 5-12 with the defense as built, they can fire Stefanski. And then it opens the door for Dion Primetime Sanders, right?
Oh goodness,
that I said it. That had to be on the minds of every GM and coach. And normally I would say Cleveland, Ohio, not a primetime city, not a destination. Maybe he would go, but Dion went to Boulder, Colorado, so that's out the door. being an NFL coach, there's only 32 men on the planet that can do it. NFL jobs are precious, and I don't care where it is, you take it.
Oh yeah,
you take it. And
SHEDEUR is going to be huge. I think SHEDEUR in Cleveland is going to be LeBron, not LeBron huge because LeBron was the number one pick from
he grew
from
up
home. He grew up in Akron, but I think SHEDEUR is going to be up there in popularity. I think SHEDEUR's jersey is probably going to be the number one selling Browns jersey.
Holy shit.
In 2 weeks.
You're
in 2 weeks.
You're probably right. You're probably right.
Think about it. You're Mason Graham, and you're not even going to be the talk of the fucking. You're not even going to be talk of the introduction. Like, I think you should introduce Mason today or tomorrow, and let SHEDEUR and all the other guys come in on Monday or Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because
did you guys talk about? I just want to touch on this really quick. And Rafa, I know you don't have a problem with your quarterback being confident, cocky, being a dick. No. You've covered that, right? Yeah. But launching a brand the night of your, and it's called Legendary. I think that might have had something to do with it too, man. It was such a bad look. We've seen first round picks, flame out in 2 years in the NFL. We've seen undrafted free agents become Hall of Famers. And I will say this. Okay, for all those people who called me racist when I said SHEDEUR wasn't a first-round pick, for all the people that are trying, because this is Yappin, I can get into this shit.
Right.
Free speech.
For all the people, okay, that were arguing with me, if he was white, he was this, if he was black. The NFL locker room is the least racist environment on the planet. Okay, if you can play, you are accepted. Even guys who are a-holes, but if you can play, they don't care who you are, where you came from, William and Mary or Alabama, South Dakota State or Georgia. You see it every Monday night when they introduce the starting O-line and he says Temple University. The NFL doesn't give a shit about where you came from or what you look like. If you can play ball, then you're going to play ball, man. So put all that racist, if he was white, if his daddy wasn't Sanders, it don't matter. If you can play, you can play. I don't care if your daddy was Jeffrey Dahmer. If you can play, you will be Sammy Dahmer, left tackle. It don't matter, man. It don't matter. If you can play, you're gonna play in the NFL. They don't care what your last name is. What you slanted eyes, no eyes, one eye. It don't matter, man. Lakers in 5.
Damn right. Yeah, we touched on race baiting earlier, Ed, because there's going to be plenty. There was plenty of it already. You saw it with Stephen A. and Louis Riddick, and we'll wait for Jamel Hill to make her bullshit and all that.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, for sure, Ed, you're 100%. You touched on that 1,000% correct. There's no doubt about it. Yeah. Oh, you can unleash the dragon. You can unleash the dragon.
If you want to come out with a white hoodie and on your show, go ahead.
That's not allowed. That's not allowed anywhere.
No.
That's not allowed anywhere. And since we got you on here, I talked about it a little bit. Skip Bayless. I don't know if you saw it last night. He made a comment. I don't know if you watched the Laker game last night.
A little bit.
Okay. He came out and kind of trashed LeBron, and I'll kind of read you from what I remember LeBron's numbers. 38 and 10.
Yep.
He shot over 50% from almost 60% from the field.
Almost 60, 13 of 21.
Yes. And he shot over 50% from 3, 5 of 9.
Yeah.
Okay. And he only had 1 turnover. Okay. The Lakers had 16 turnovers. Minnesota had 8. Luka had 5 and Reeves had 4. And Skip came out and totally blamed this game on LeBron.
Do you want me to play it?
Play it for Eddie so he can hear it.
Yeah.
So he can hear what he said.
8-minute mark down to the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter. How many times have we seen this in LeBron's career when he goes crazy, nutty, hot in the middle of the fourth quarter, and then right on schedule, nothing. He fades, he shrinks, he disappears. Happened again tonight. Game tied, and guess what happened? Home team goes on a 13-1 run to close the game. 13-1 to win the game, 116-104. Lakers scored one single measly, lousy point.
Okay.
What do you think, Ed?
So I'm watching this game. I don't have the audio. I'm watching it at a bar, and I'm watching what's going on. As soon as the game is over, I get a friend who texts me. You guys know him, the Tricksters. He says, "This is why I can't stand LeBron." If you saw LeBron walked out of the court before everybody, right? And he's like, "If you're a leader, you don't do this, you don't do that, and that's why Luka is this and Luka is that." I said, "Okay, you can feel that way if you want, but who had 38 points? Who shot for 13 of 21? Let Luka fucking answer those fucking questions, okay? LeBron did everything. To me, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Call a spade a spade. Luka didn't have a good game. Austin Reeves didn't have a good game. Okay. It's the what do you want the guy to do? What do you want him to do? He's a team player. He's always been a team player. He is not Kobe Bryant. He is not Michael Jordan. It's not in his DNA to take the ball and shoot it 12 times, 12 to 13 to 14 times in the fourth quarter.
By the way, in that fourth quarter, he had like 13 points.
Yeah,
And
I know
the problem that bothers me, Eddie, is that we're talking about this, and Skip Bayless is talking about this man at 40 years old. The night that he put it, I know Luka was sick. Okay, Luka didn't feel well yesterday. He was 6 to 16 from the floor, 5 turnovers. Okay, but the man's 40. So even for Rick to send you a message, like, can we look at the fact that the man's 40 years old? The performance he put up last night against a team who's getting threes, who's getting buckets from Naz Reid, 6th man of the year last year. They have Ant, right, who's a phenom in the league, and the Lakers didn't get anything from Luka and Austin Reeves, but 9 fucking turnovers.
How about that bank shot 3 from Conley?
Oh, he needed that. That I always say, when you miss it that bad, and when you bank it in, that's how bad you missed it. And from that angle, and when they go to the bench, you hear one of the 15 guys on the bench there, one of the bottom feeders of the bench. He wasn't even in uniform. He tells Mike Conley, "Man, you needed that. You needed that to go in." Like, it was like a pick me up, but they had just everything going to close out. LeBron played 41 minutes last night at 40 years old.
Yeah.
Like that's my problem with what Skip says. And so go ahead, Ed.
If they don't make it past this series, if they don't, and Golden State ends up going to the finals, possibly winning. I know Jimmy Butler has he's injured. He's possible for game 3, but there is talk, and we've talked about this earlier, in the LeBron era, and you get Steph Curry with 6 rings. I don't know how many MVPs.
Well, he's got 4 rings right now.
Okay, 5 rings. 2 or 3 MVPs. It's gonna LeBron's legacy is gonna take a major hit, and Steph will his stock in the top 10. To me, I think he's top 10 already, but he raises up the charts if this happens.
I don't think even at healthy, even at full strength for the Warriors, which they're not going to be tonight. I don't think Jimmy's playing tonight. Yeah. And you saw how bad they were without Jimmy on the floor.
Yeah.
On Friday night, on Thursday night. Like, without Jimmy on the floor, they looked awful, right?
It's a big deal.
And it was a big difference because in game one, they only allowed 85 points because you have Jimmy, you have Draymond, guys who can play defense. I think when you've watched, and we watched it, and we'll watch it again tonight, and we saw it on Thursday night, how good the Clippers are playing. And I said it on our two nobodies. I said it on our two nobodies. How good are the Clippers playing? That Clipper team is built to win. And I would love to see them in a series against Thunder. I know the Denver series is not over. You can see Mike Malone has been missing. But even then, I don't think Curry, even with Jimmy, I don't see them beating a Clipper team.
I
really don't.
Kawhi he looks prime Toronto Kawhi. I agree. I agree. Clippers look scary. And let's call it what it is. OKC, I think they're just playing just an outmatch. They look 100 times better than Memphis.
Well, that game 3, they were up. Memphis was up
26
or 26 at halftime, I think it was, right? And Ja went out. So Ja went out in that second quarter, was over. When Ja left the game completely flipped. It completely flipped there for them, and now Ja's out for game 4. So that series will be done tonight.
It had to be. I was hoping. I'm like, why isn't this guy coming back? Why isn't he coming back? They're gonna lose this game.
Yeah,
I thought he would have tried to make an effort, but he's not playing again, so we'll give him a pass. Obviously, he was very injured, but it's Clippers look great. You think the Lakers make it out of the series?
They have to be. They need. So when you watch that game yesterday, and they had a lead in the third quarter, and they tied it up in the fourth. When they tie it at 103, they get a bucket from Luka to tie that game at 103. They needed Luka, and I know he was sick. They need Luka and Austin Reeves to be able to close if LeBron is playing his 35th minute at the 6-minute mark of the fourth quarter, because they took him out of that third quarter and they brought him back in to close the third, and he didn't leave the game after. You're expecting, although he's in great physical form, he's still 40 years old at the end of the day. And for you to sit here and still blame LeBron James when we know he's not one of the 3 best players in the league today. We know that. If you watch, you understand that he's not. If the Lakers lose this series, whether it's 4-2, 4-1, or whatever, and you're going to sit there and blame LeBron James and not put any blame on Luka, and you're going to use the excuse that Luka led that Dallas team last year to the finals. That Dallas team last year that went to the finals was better built than this Laker team.
Way better composed.
They play defense. This team has too many bad players on defense. So I don't know if they get out. And tomorrow's a must win for the Lakers. There's no way in hell you can go down 3-1.
Yeah.
Right. And you've already lost on your home floor. Last night's game, if Luka would have been healthy, I think the Lakers win that game last night. It with Luka healthy. They were in that game. They had a lead in the third. They tied it in the fourth. But going back to if they lose this series, everyone will blame LeBron because it's always the easy out. It is always the easy out to blame LeBron.
This is the reason you brought in Luka, because Anthony Davis was never a closer, right? He would put up good numbers, but couldn't close a game. And like you said, LeBron had played so many minutes. He had carried the team on his back up to that point. That is the exact reason why you went and got Luka, who is your number 1 option, by the way. He is your number 1 option. You need him to finish that game. Sick, not sick. Luka's job was to come and finish those games.
Yeah, and he didn't finish it. So and they'll blame LeBron, Ed, and hopefully they don't, but they will.
Oh, they will. They will. It's the easiest thing. It's like it's peanut butter and jelly, man. People love to hate on LeBron James. They love to do it. It's like a pastime. Walking on the beach, romantic comedies, and talking shit about LeBron James. Lakers in 5. Right, Gucci?
Yeah. CJ, you got anything else?
I do not have anything else.
All right. That's it then.
That's it. Appreciate
bye.
Eddie coming on. Appreciate Ralph. And
Thank
we
you,
will
Mia,
see
for
y'all
coming
next
on.
Wednesday on the Two Nobodies podcast.
Yeah. Say goodbye. They want to say hello.
Bye,
Say-
Mia. Hi, Mama. How are you?
Bye.
Bye.